Everyone does. The ungilded, the mundane, those blessed souls who sleep in darkness and wake to nothing but the Emperor's light. They look at us with equal parts fear and fascination, wondering what horrors dance behind our eyes, what whispers echo in the hollow spaces of our minds. Let me tell you something first. I can't remember my mother's face. I can remember the feeling of her, the warmth of her hands, the cadence of her voice singing lullabies in low Gothic. But her face? Gone. Scraped away by the black ship's psycho-indoctrination protocols. They said it was mercy. They said memories make us weak, give the entities in the warp something to grip onto, to twist into weapons against us. Maybe they were right, but I'll never forgive them for it. My name is Matthias Kane, and I am a sanctioned psyker of the Imperium of Man. For 37 years, I have served aboard the Eternal Vigilance, a lunar-class cruiser patrolling the Segmentum Obscurus. I have walked in the minds of heretics. I have torn information from the dying synapses of xenos creatures. I have stood in the path of demonic incursion and held, barely, the line between reality and madness. But this story isn't about any of that. This story is about the day I discovered something in the warp that shouldn't exist. Something that's been following me ever since. Something that knows my name, the real one, the one even I have forgotten. It started 3 months ago, during what should have been a routine compliance action. The Eternal Vigilance had made translation into real space above Galara Prime, a mining world on the outer reaches of the Talus sector. Iron gray, storm-racked. The kind of place where the Imperium extracts every gram of precious ore from the earth and leaves the population to survive on faith and corpse starch alone. Galara Prime had missed its tithe for the 3rd consecutive cycle. That's all it takes, you understand. 3 missed tithes and the administratum marks you for investigation. And they send the guard. Galara was teetering on that edge and we'd been dispatched to determine why. I remember standing in the astropathic choir chamber when we received our first transmission from the surface. The chamber was a cathedral of brass and prayer, 47 astropaths sitting in their throne cradles, eyes sewn shut with silver thread, mouths moving in constant, soundless prayer. The air always smelled of incense and ozone there. The temperature dropped 5 degrees the moment you crossed the threshold. Psyker Kane, Choirmaster Valen had rasped, his voice like sandpaper on bone. The surface vox is troubled. I'd been through enough campaigns to know what troubled meant. It meant screaming. It meant static filled with half-heard words that weren't in any human language. It meant soldiers crying for their mothers in the moment before their souls were torn from their bodies. Play it, I said. What came through the speakers wasn't words. Not at first. It was breathing. Long, rattling inhalations that seemed to last forever, followed by wet, gurgling exhalations. In the background, I could hear the crackle of flames, the distant sound of lost fire. And then, breaking through like a drowning man surfacing, a voice. Anyone receiving this transmission, this is Sector Governor Malthus of Galara Prime. We have. Emperor preserve us. We have a situation. The miners in the deep shafts. They found something. Something old. They opened it and now. The breathing grew louder. Closer to the microphone. Not dying. They're changing. Their eyes? Oh God Emperor, their eyes are wrong. Send help. Send the Inquisition. Send. A wet, tearing sound. A scream that started human and ended as something else entirely. Then silence. The choirmaster looked at me with his empty, silver-threaded sockets. Your assessment, Psyker Kane? I'd already felt it, of course. The moment the transmission played, my witch sight had activated unbidden. That second sense that shows the world as it truly is, stripped of the comfortable lies we tell ourselves. The chamber had filled with whispers, with shadows that moved against the light. The temperature had dropped another 10 degrees. Warp contamination, I said, my breath misting in the suddenly frigid air. Stage 3, maybe 4. They need immediate quarantine and an inquisitorial presence. The Inquisition is 17 days away at best warp speed, Valen said. Captain Harrow has ordered an expeditionary force to the surface. You're to accompany them." Of course I was. I pressed my palm against the Aquila tattooed over my heart, feeling the raised scar tissue beneath my robes. "The Emperor protects." Valen's lipless mouth twitched into something that might have been a smile. "Does he, Kane? Does he really?" I should have paid more attention to that question. The drop to Galara Prime was rough. The planet's atmosphere was thick with ash from the mining operations, and the Valkyrie assault carrier pitched and yawed through the thermal updrafts like a dying bird. I was strapped in beside Commissar Venn and his stormtrooper escort, 15 of the hardest men and women the Imperial Guard could produce, their carapace armor painted in urban camouflage, hellguns primed and ready. Venn was old-school Imperium. Square jaw, augmetic left eye that glowed a dull red in the transport's gloom, and a trigger finger that had executed more cowards than most soldiers kill enemies. He regarded me with the special contempt most commissars reserved for psychers. "Try not to let any demons out while we're down there, he said, checking the charge on his bolt pistol. "Try not to shoot me in the back when one appears," I replied. We'd had this conversation before. The stormtrooper sergeant, a woman named Katia with 3 service studs in her skull and a bionic arm that could crush rockcrete, allowed herself a slight grin. Some of the troopers had served with me before. They knew I was useful. They also knew what I was, and that knowledge sat between us like a loaded gun. The Valkyrie's engines screamed as we began our final descent. Through the porthole, I could see Galara Prime's capital, a sprawling collection of hab blocks and processing facilities built around the main mining shaft, a wound in the earth so deep it seemed to go on forever. The city should have been ablaze with lights, teeming with workers changing shifts, the skies filled with ore haulers and patrol craft. Instead, it was dark, silent, empty. "Emperor's teeth," someone muttered. "Where is everyone?" I closed my eyes and let my witch sight unfold, casting my awareness out over the city below. What I felt made my stomach drop. "They're still here," I said quietly. "All of them." "Then why?" Venn started. "They're waiting." The Valkyrie touched down in the central landing zone, kicking up clouds of ash and dust. The assault ramp dropped with a hydraulic hiss, and we moved out in standard formation, stormtroopers fanning out in a defensive perimeter while I stood in the center, every sense extended, searching for threats. The city was wrong. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Just wrong. The building stood intact, but every window was dark. Vehicles sat abandoned in the streets, engines still warm. I could see food on tables through open doorways, meals half-eaten and forgotten. A child's toy, a crude wooden Aquila, lay in the dust at my feet. "Sweep pattern Alpha," Venn ordered. "Stay sharp. Anything moves, you put it down." We moved through the streets like ghosts, our boots crunching on the ash-covered pavement. The silence was absolute. No wind, no birds, no sound at all except for our own breathing and the creak of armor. I'd been in dead cities before. Virus-bombed, orc-ravaged, Tyranid stripped. They all had a quality to them, a sense of finality. This was different. This city wasn't dead. It was holding its breath. We were 3 blocks from the governor's palace when we found the first body. It was hanging from a lamppost, arms spread wide like it was embracing the sky. It wore the robes of a mini-Storm priest, though the fabric was stained black with something that wasn't blood. The face was gone, scraped away down to the bone, but the mouth remained, frozen in a smile far too wide for any human face. Written on the wall behind it in what I desperately hoped was paint, "He is coming home." What in the Emperor's name? Katia breathed. I stepped closer, witch sight active, and immediately wished I hadn't. The corpse was radiating warp energy like a furnace, invisible tentacles of psychic force coiling and uncoiling in patterns that hurt to perceive. More than that, it was aware. Not the corpse itself, but something using it as a vessel, a puppet, a doorway. It opened its eyes. They were the color of spoiled milk, and they fixed on me with terrible intelligence. "Matthias," it whispered, and the voice was wrong, layered like 1,000 people speaking in unison. "Matthias Kane, son of Alara, born under the weeping star. We've been waiting for you." I felt my blood turn to ice. Not because it knew my name, my current name, my service designation. That was in the files. Anyone could know that. No, I was terrified because it said Alara. My mother's name. The one even I couldn't remember. "Open fire." Ven shouted. The stormtroopers unleashed hell. Hellgun lost bolts turned the air into a spider web of coherent light, each shot powerful enough to punch through ceramite armor. The corpse jerked and spasmed as the beams tore into it, flesh vaporizing, bone shattering. But it kept smiling, kept looking at me. "We've been calling you, Matthias." Through the screams, through the silence. "Haven't you felt it? Haven't you heard us in your dreams?" I had. God Emperor help me, I had. For the past month I'd been having the same nightmare. A vast tunnel stretching down into infinite darkness. The sound of digging. And at the bottom, something vast and patient, counting the seconds until I arrived. "Throne take you," I snarled, and I reached into the warp. Imagine reality is a canvas stretched over a frame. The warp is what lies behind that canvas. A roiling ocean of raw emotion and unformed possibility, beautiful and terrible in equal measure. Psychers like me can reach through the canvas and pull that energy into the material world, shaping it with our will. Every time we do, we risk tearing the canvas open, letting things through that should never exist in reality. But sometimes you don't have a choice. I pulled hard, channeling power through the neural pathways carved into my brain by decades of training and torture. My hands erupted in witch fire, blue-white flames that cast no heat but burned away the lies the universe tells itself. I thrust both palms forward, and a lance of psychic force slammed into the corpse. It exploded. Not just physically, I felt its connection to the warp sever, the entity controlling it forced back into the immaterium with a shriek that only I could hear. But just before it vanished, it left me with one final message, burned directly into my mind. "The door is open. He is rising. And you are the key." I collapsed to my knees, gasping, feeling blood running from my nose. Katia was at my side immediately, her bionic hand steadying me. "Kane? Talk to me, Psyker." "I'm fine," I lied. "Just overextended." Ven loomed over us, his face grim. "What in the Emperor's name was that thing?" "A messenger," I said, wiping the blood from my face. "And a warning." "From what?" I looked toward the center of the city, toward the great mining shaft that descended into the planet's crust. My witch sight showed me something down there, something vast and old, stirring after an eon of sleep. "Something ancient," I said. "Something that knows me. And something that's been waiting a very long time for me to come home." We found the governor's palace deserted. More messages on the walls, all variations on the same theme. He is coming home. The sleeper wakes. The key turns. In the governor's office we found Malthus himself. He was sitting at his desk, hands folded peacefully, dressed in his formal robes. At first glance, he looked like he was simply resting his eyes. Then we saw that his eyes were gone. Not torn out, carved out, the sockets perfectly smooth and empty. In the hollow spaces, someone had inserted small, perfectly cut gemstones that glittered in our lamplight. And in his mouth, rolled up like a scroll, we found a message, written in high Gothic on what I sincerely hoped was parchment. Psyker Matthias Kane. Iota classification. Service number 447, Sigma, 18. You have been summoned. Descend to Shaft Omega, 7. Level 99. The truth awaits. Your father is calling. My father. The bastards knew about my father. This is a trap, Ven said flatly. Obviously, I agreed. So we call for backup. Wait for the Inquisition. They're 17 days out. In 17 days, whatever's down there will be strong enough to... I stopped, my witch sight suddenly flaring with alarm. Cain? Katia prompted. I held up a hand for silence, extending my senses. There. To the west. A surge of warp energy, violent and sudden, like a wound being torn in reality. Then another. To the north. Then another. 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 All across the city the doors were opening. We're out of time, I said. They're coming through. What's coming through? Ven demanded. I met his eyes. Everyone. Everyone in the city. Whatever took them, it's done waiting. It's bringing them to us. As if in response, the screaming started. Not human screaming. Not quite. It was too uniform, too synchronized, like a choir of the damned all hitting the same note. From every direction I could feel them coming, thousands of people, their bodies puppeted by something that wore their flesh like a costume. Defensive positions. Ven roared. Katia, get a Vox to the ship. We need immediate extraction. But I barely heard him. Because my witch sight had shown me something else, something underneath the city, deep in the shaft. It was vast. Older than the Imperium, older than humanity's first ventures into the stars. And it was aware of me. Specifically. Personally. You cannot run from yourself, Matthias, something whispered in my mind. You cannot hide from what you are. Come home. Remember. Become. The possessed citizens burst into the palace in a wave of twisted flesh and impossible angles. Stormtroopers opened fire, hellguns tearing through the horde, but there were too many. For every one that fell, 3 more clawed their way forward. I gathered power, preparing to unleash a psychic maelstrom when something caught my eye. One of the possessed, a woman in mining overalls, stopped mid-charge. She tilted her head at an inhuman angle and pointed directly at me. When she spoke, it was with that same layered thousand-voice whisper. We were there, Matthias. The day you were born. The day the star wept. The day your mother screamed your true name into the void. Do you want to know what she said? Do you want to know what you really are? I wanted to say no. I wanted to deny it, to burn that knowledge away with witch fire and faith. But I'm a psyker. I've spent my entire life being lied to, having my memories scraped away, being told I'm a monster who must be caged for the good of humanity. And for the first time in 37 years, someone was offering me the truth. Pull back to the landing zone. I shouted to the stormtroopers. I'm going to clear us a path. Cain, don't you dare, Ven started. I didn't listen. I pulled on the warp, harder than I'd ever pulled before, feeling the familiar burn as power flooded through neural pathways never meant to channel such forces. My eyes burst into flames. The temperature plummeted. Frost spread across the walls in beautiful, terrible patterns. And then I pushed. The wave of psychic force that erupted from me was a physical thing, a tsunami of raw will that caught the possessed and hurled them backward like dolls. Bones shattered. The psychic threads controlling them snapped. For one beautiful moment, the palace was clear. Go! I screamed. Go now! We ran. The journey back to the landing zone was a nightmare. The possessed came at us from every street, every building, every shadow. Katia's squad fought like the Emperor's own angels, hellguns blazing, grenades turning the ash-choked air into a storm of fire and shrapnel. Ven's bolt pistol barked its devotion to the throne, each mass reactive round turning a possessed citizen into an explosion of corrupted flesh. And I burned. Oh, how I burned. I was a lighthouse in a sea of darkness, witch fire streaming from my hands in continuous torrents. Every time I reached into the warp, I felt it reaching back, felt it down there in the deep places, watching me, encouraging me, proud of me. That was the most terrifying part. It wasn't trying to corrupt me. It was trying to remind me. We made it to the landing zone with half our squad dead or wounded. The Valkyrie was already warming up, the pilot screaming at us to hurry. As we scrambled aboard, I looked back at the city one last time. Every window had a face in it now. Thousands of them all watching me. All smiling with mouths too wide. And in my mind, clear as a Vox transmission. You'll come back, Matthias. You'll have to. Because the only way to stop us is to remember what you are. And once you remember, well, then you'll understand you were never meant to stop us at all. The Valkyrie lifted off in a scream of engines, and Galara Prime fell away beneath us. But I knew, the way you know things in nightmares with absolute certainty, that this wasn't over. Whatever was down in that shaft, it knew me, it knew my mother, it knew my father, and it was calling me home. That was 3 months ago. Since then, I've been confined to my quarters aboard the Eternal Vigilance. For observation, they told me. Routine quarantine protocol after exposure to warp contamination. But I know the truth. They're afraid of me. The ship's astropaths feel it too. When I walk past the choir chamber now, they all fall silent, their blind faces turning toward me like flowers tracking the sun. Every night I have the same dream. The tunnel stretching down. The sound of digging growing louder. And at the bottom, a figure in the darkness, reaching up toward me with hands I almost recognize. 3 days ago the Inquisition finally arrived. Lord Inquisitor Cashin himself, accompanied by a full retinue of interrogators, acolytes, and a Grey Knight Terminator who watches me with eyes that have seen the worst the warp has to offer. They've questioned me for hours, shown me picked captures of pre-imperial ruins, asked me if certain symbols feel familiar. Some do. Emperor help me, some do. Yesterday, Cashin came to my quarters alone. He's an old man, augmetic more than flesh, but his eyes are sharp and kind in equal measure. He sat across from me and said something that made my blood run cold. We've been tracking the entity on Galara Prime for 17 years, Psyker Kane. We call it the Nemophage, the Memory Eater. It's ancient, predating the Age of Strife. It feeds on forgotten things, lost names, erased histories, and it's been searching for something specific. Someone specific. What does it want? I asked, though part of me already knew. A key, Cashin said. Every lock requires the right key to open. This entity has been imprisoned for 10,000 years, sealed away by psychic wards that require specific bloodlines to unlock. Bloodlines? I repeated numbly. Cashin nodded. Your mother, Elara Kane, was a rogue psyker. Never sanctioned, never trained, but immensely powerful. She disappeared 38 years ago, just before you were born. The last place she was seen was Galara Prime. The room seemed to tilt. My father? Unknown. Your records were heavily redacted when the black ships took you. Standard procedure for powerful bloodlines, they didn't want you knowing you might be special. Special? I said bitterly. That's one word for it. Cashin leaned forward. In 3 hours, we're heading back to Galara Prime with a full company of Grey Knights and enough orbital firepower to crack the planet's crust. We're going to descend to the bottom of that shaft and end this thing before it can fully manifest. And me? You're coming with us. Because if you truly are the key, then you're the only thing that might be able to close the door as well. He stood to leave, then paused. Your mother's final transmission, the one she sent before she vanished, we only recently decoded it. Would you like to know what she said? I wasn't sure I did, but I nodded anyway. Cashin pulled up a data slate and played a fragment of static-laden audio. Through the crackling, I heard a woman's voice, my mother's voice, though I couldn't remember it, speaking in panicked, urgent tones. Was wrong. The child isn't a curse. He's a lock. They built him into the bloodline generations ago, a failsafe, a way to seal them away forever. But they'll come for him. When he's old enough, powerful enough, they'll call him home and try to. The transmission dissolved into static. That's all we have, Cashin said softly. The rest is corrupt beyond recovery. He left me alone with that knowledge. With the understanding that my entire existence might be nothing more than a weapon built by someone. Something, long ago. Now I'm sitting here, recording this, trying to put into words what it's like to be a psyker. How do you explain seeing reality seams? How do you describe the constant whisper of the warp at the edges of your consciousness, offering power and madness in equal measure. How do you tell someone that you might not even be human? That you might be a construct, something designed and built for a purpose you don't understand? In 2 hours we deploy to Galara Prime. The Grey Knights will go first, sanctified Nemesis Force weapons ready to cut through anything the warp throws at us. I'll be in the second wave with Inquisitor Cassian, descending into the depths, following the tunnel I've seen in my dreams. We're going to find out what's at the bottom. What's been waiting for me? What knows my name? An Emperor protect me, I'm going to remember. One way or another, I'm going to know the truth, even if it destroys me. Recording ends. Addendum: 3 hours after this recording was made, Psyker Kane's quarters were found empty. No signs of forced entry. No psychic disturbance detected. Security footage shows him sitting at his desk one moment and simply absent the next. A message was found written on his wall in what appears to be his own blood. I'm going home. Lord Inquisitor Cassian has authorized immediate deployment. All forces to converge on Galara Prime. The Emperor protect. This is Cassian. If anyone receives this, the Grey Knights are dead. All of them. Brother Captain Alaric, the finest warrior I've ever known, was torn apart by something that wore his own memories like a weapon. The Nemephage didn't kill them with claws or warp fire. It killed them with truth. Kane is ahead of us. We can hear him, singing. In a language that shouldn't exist. The walls are changing. Growing. The deeper we descend, the more I understand. We're not in a mine shaft anymore. We're inside something's throat. If we don't return, exterminate us. Burn this world to ash and pray it's enough. The Emperor protects. Please let him protect us now. I'm going to try to explain what happened. What I remembered. What I am. But I need you to understand something first. I'm not insane. I know how this sounds. I know what the Inquisition will think when they read this, if anyone ever reads it. But I'm not corrupted. I'm not possessed. I'm just awake. It started when I left my quarters. I didn't plan to. One moment I was sitting at my desk, recording my testimony for Cassian. The next moment I was elsewhere. Not teleportation. That's violent, a tearing of space. This was different. It was like I'd always been in both places at once, and I simply chose to notice a different location. I was standing in the docking bay of the Eternal Vigilance, in front of a savior pod. My hands were already moving, running through the launch sequence without conscious thought. Muscle memory from a life I'd never lived. Or had I? Psyker Kane. I turned. Choirmaster Valen stood behind me, his silver-threaded eye socket somehow more expressive than any sighted gaze. You shouldn't be here, I said. Neither should you. He tilted his head, the way a bird might examine something curious. But you're going anyway, aren't you? I have to. Because it's calling you? Or because you're finally ready to answer? I didn't know how to respond to that. Valen moved closer, his withered hands folded in the sleeves of his robes. I was there, you know, when the black ships brought you in. 37 years ago. You were barely 6 years old, and already you were radiating enough psychic power to light up our witch site from orbit. He paused. But that's not what I remember most. Then what? I asked, my hand hovering over the launch controls. I remember that you were singing. The same song over and over in a language none of us recognized. When we asked you what it meant, you said, it's what the stars sing when they die. A chill ran through me. I didn't remember that. The black ships had taken it along with everything else. But somewhere deep in my mind I could hear the melody. We all assumed it was the warp corrupting you, Valen continued. Standard procedure, scrape away the memories, rebuild you as a tool of the Imperium. But one of the senior astropaths, long dead now, he said something I've never forgotten. He said, that boy isn't corrupted. He's remembering. And when he remembers everything, we'll either be saved or damned. Which do you think it is? I asked quietly. Valen smiled his lipless smile. I think it's both. I think it's always been both. He pressed something into my hand, a data slate old and worn. Your mother's full transmission. The uncorrupted version. Cassian lied to you, Matthias. He didn't want you to know the truth before you could be controlled. But you deserve to know what she died trying to tell you. I looked down at the slate, my hands trembling. The Emperor protects, Psyker Kane, Valen said, turning to leave. But sometimes he protects us from the truth as much as he protects us with it. Choose wisely which protection you need. He disappeared into the shadows of the docking bay and I was alone. I activated the slate. My mother's voice filled the pod, clear and desperate and alive. Matthias, my son. If you're hearing this, then I'm dead and you've grown old enough for them to take you. I'm so sorry. I tried to hide you, tried to keep you safe, but they always find us in the end. A sob caught in her voice. You need to know the truth. You're not just a Psyker baby. You're something older. Something the ancients built before the age of strife, before humanity even reached the stars. You're a mnemonic lock, a psychic construct designed to seal away the nemophage, the entity that feeds on forgotten memories. The nemophage is ancient beyond measure. It existed in the warp before the chaos gods took form, feeding on the death of civilizations, growing fat on lost names and erased histories. 10,000 years ago, a race we have no name for, the ones who left the ruins on Galara Prime, they fought it. And they couldn't kill it, so they did something else. They built a prison. Not of metal or stone, but of memory. A psychic maze so complex, so layered with forgotten truths, that even the nemophage would become lost in it. And they built a lock, a bloodline, Matthias. A genetic sequence that would produce, once every few generations, a child with the specific psychic resonance needed to maintain the seal. You're that child. Your DNA is half human, and half something else. Something they wove into our family line so long ago that we'd forgotten we were ever different. A long pause. When she spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. Your father was the nemophage, Matthias. Not by choice. It reached through the seal, found me when I was young and foolish and thought I could control it. It showed me beautiful things, promised me knowledge, and I let it in. Just for a moment. Just long enough. When I realized what I'd done, when I realized I was pregnant with something that was both human and not, I ran. I tried to hide you. But the Imperium's black ships found us anyway. As they always do. Listen to me, my son. The nemophage will call to you. It will show you truths the Imperium has hidden. It will offer you the memories they stole. And part of you, the part that isn't human, will want to accept. Don't. Because here's the secret they never wanted you to know. You're not just the lock. You're also the key. The moment you remember everything, the moment you embrace what you are, the seal breaks. And the nemophage will be free to consume not just individual memories, but the memory of entire species. It will eat history itself, unwriting civilizations from reality's ledger. But there's another way. If you can remember without becoming, if you can hold both truths in your mind, human and other, lock and key, you can rebuild the seal from the inside. You can trap it forever in a prison it can never escape. It will cost you everything. Your humanity, your soul, your existence. But it will save everyone else. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry I brought you into this. If there was any other way. The transmission cut off in a burst of static and screaming. I sat in the pod, staring at nothing as the truth settled over me like a burial shroud. I was a weapon, a trap, a sacrifice waiting to happen. And I'd been running toward it my whole life. I launched the pod. The descent to Galara Prime took 6 hours. 6 hours alone with my thoughts, with the implications of my mother's message, with the growing awareness of something other stirring in my mind. I'd always thought the whispers from the warp were external. Entities trying to get in, temptations to be resisted. Now I understood they were internal. The part of me that wasn't human waking up. Remembering. Hello, Matthias, it said in a voice that was my own but deeper, older. It's good to finally meet you. You're the nemophage, I said aloud, my voice echoing in the pod. No, I'm you. Or rather, I'm the part of you that your father contributed. The memories encoded in your DNA, waiting for you to be strong enough to remember them. The memories of a warp entity that eats civilizations. The memories of a being that understands the fundamental truth of existence. Nothing lasts. Everything is forgotten. Even the chaos gods will one day fade when the last emotion dies. I simply accelerate the process. You're a monster. I'm honest. The Imperium lies to its subjects, promises them immortality through service to the Emperor. But everyone forgets Matthias. Every hero, every saint, every planet they die for. Given enough time, it's all dust and silence. I just make the process cleaner. The pod shuddered as it hit Galara Prime's atmosphere. Through the viewport, I could see the planet below, and with my witch sight, I could see the truth of it. The city wasn't being possessed. It was being digested. The Nemophage was eating the memories of everyone who'd ever lived there, their loves, their fears, their petty joys and sorrows, and in doing so, it was eating them. The bodies moving through the streets were just the leftovers. The shells of people who no longer remembered how to be human. Come home, my other self whispered. Remember who you really are. Together we can be free. And if I do, if I remember everything, then the seal breaks, and we can finally feed on the memories we've been denied for so long. Starting with the Imperium itself. Imagine it, Matthias, the Emperor corpse on his golden throne, the last memory of his great dream finally fading. The Imperium forgetting itself into oblivion. A mercy really. An end to 10,000 years of suffering. Billions would die. Billions die anyway. At least this way they wouldn't have to remember the pain. The pod crashed into the landing zone in a shriek of tortured metal and emergency thrusters. I climbed out into the ash-choked air, my robes billowing in the toxic wind. The city was waiting. Thousands of hollow-eyed shells, all turned toward me, all smiling. Welcome home, son of Elara, they said in unison. The father is waiting. I started walking toward the mining shaft. The descent took hours, days. Time stopped meaning anything after the first few levels. The shaft was changing as I walked. The industrial machinery, the drilling equipment, the ore processors, the support struts, all of it was being subsumed by something organic. Walls of pulsing flesh, floors that breathed, lights that were actually eyes watching me pass with terrible patience. I wasn't alone. The possessed followed at a distance, a silent honor guard ushering me toward their god. And ahead of me, I could feel Cashin and what remained of his force, fighting their way down, trying to reach me before it was too late. They wouldn't make it in time. We all knew it. At level 50, I found the first Grey Knight. Brother Alaric, just as Cashin had said. His blessed armor was split open like a cracked egg and his body was wrong. Not corrupted in the traditional sense. It was just incomplete, like someone had erased parts of him. Limbs that phased in and out of existence. A face that couldn't decide what it had looked like. The Nemophage had eaten his memories. Without memories, his body forgot how to be real. I kept walking. At level 75, I passed through what I can only describe as a membrane, a threshold between the material world and something else. The temperature dropped to near absolute zero. My breath crystallized in the air, and suddenly I could see them. The ancient ones. The civilization that had built the prison. They were there in the walls, their forms preserved in psychic amber. Tall, elegant beings with too many limbs and eyes that glowed with inner light. They were all reaching toward something at the center of the shaft, their faces twisted in expressions of eternal horror and determination. They volunteered, my other self whispered. When they realized they couldn't kill me, couldn't seal me away with just walls and wards, they offered themselves. Wove their own memories, their own existence into the fabric of the prison. They became the maze I was lost in. 30,000 souls, erased from history, their entire civilization forgotten. Just to cage me. And you want to honor that sacrifice by eating the universe, I said bitterly. I want to end it. That's all I've ever wanted. To bring the final silence, the last forgetting, when nothing remains to remember the pain. At level 87, I found Cashin and his surviving soldiers. 20 men and women, all that remained of a force that had numbered in the hundreds. They were huddled behind makeshift barricades, hellguns trained on the shadows, fighting off waves of possessed with the desperate precision of those who know they're already dead. Cassian saw me and his augmetic eye flared with recognition and fear. Kane. Thank the Emperor. He stopped, really looking at me. What did you do? I glanced down at my hands. They were glowing with soft, pulsing light that had nothing to do with witch fire. My veins were visible through my skin, filled with something that wasn't quite blood. I listened to my mother's message, I said. The real one. I know what I am now. Then you know what you have to do, Cassian said urgently. The seal has to be restored. You're the only one who can. Rebuild it from the inside, I finished. Yes, she told me. But there's a problem, Inquisitor. What problem? I met his gaze. Part of me doesn't want to. The soldiers shifted nervously, weapons coming up. Cassian raised a hand to forestall them. Kane. Matthias. Listen to me. I've spent 17 years hunting this thing. I've seen what it does. Entire worlds just forgotten. Not destroyed, erased. Like they never existed at all. The people who love them can't remember their names. The Administratum has no record they were ever settled. The only reason we even know something's wrong is because of the gaps in the tithe records. Silence, I said softly. It brings silence. Is that really so terrible? After 10,000 years of war? It's oblivion. Cassian roared. It's worse than death. At least the dead are remembered. This thing steals even that last comfort. And what if they don't deserve to be remembered? I heard myself saying, the other me bleeding through. What if the Imperium's entire history is one long atrocity that should be forgotten? All the suffering, all the cruelty done in the Emperor's name. Stop it. Cassian's voice cracked like a whip. That's not you talking. That's the entity. Fight it, Kane. But he was wrong. It was me. Both of us speaking in unison. The line between Matthias Kane and his other half was blurring, melting like snow in fire. A sound echoed up from the depths. A heartbeat. Slow. Patient. Expectant. Level 99, I said. That's where it is. The heart of the prison. The place where I was meant to seal myself away forever. Then that's where we're going, Cassian said grimly. Together. And if you can't close the door from the inside, then I'll make sure it closes from the outside. Even if I have to collapse this entire shaft on top of us. I wanted to argue. But the human part of me, the part that was still Matthias, that still remembered serving aboard the Eternal Vigilance, that still felt loyalty to the Imperium despite everything, that part was grateful. If I failed, someone needed to be there to end it. We descended together, through nightmare made manifest, to face the truth waiting at the bottom. Level 99 wasn't a level at all. It was a space. Vast beyond measure, extending in directions that shouldn't exist in three-dimensional reality. The walls were covered in script, the same flowing symbols I'd seen in the ancient ruins, and they were moving, shifting, reconfiguring themselves in patterns that hurt to perceive. At the center of the space floated a sphere of absolute darkness. Not shadow. Not the absence of light. It was the absence of memory, a hole in reality where nothing was allowed to be remembered or known. And I understood, with terrible clarity, what I was looking at. It was the prison. The psychic maze the ancient ones had woven from their own souls. And inside that darkness, still sealed after 10 millennia, was the true Nemephage. Not quite, my other self whispered. Look closer. I extended my witch sight and the truth nearly broke me. The Nemephage wasn't trapped in the sphere of darkness. The Nemephage was the sphere of darkness. The ancient ones hadn't imprisoned it. They'd fed themselves to it. 30,000 souls sacrificing their memories, their existence, their entire civilization, and the Nemephage had consumed it all and become so glutted, so overwhelmed with memory, that it had collapsed in on itself like a black hole of psychic energy. It hadn't been sealed away. It had been force-fed until it choked. And now my other self said, we're here to help it digest. No, I breathed. Yes, that's what you are, Matthias. Not a lock. Not a key. You're a catalyst. The final ingredient that will let the nemophage process all those ancient memories and wake up hungry for more. Your mother didn't understand. She thought you could trap it, but you were always meant to free it. You're lying, I said desperately. Am I? Then why can you hear my voice so clearly? Why are your veins glowing? Why does the seal recognize you? As if in response, the sphere of darkness pulsed. A tendril of unlight reached out toward me, tentative, almost tender. It knows its son, my other self whispered. It's been waiting so long for you to come home. Behind me, I heard Cashin's horrified gasp as he understood what was happening. The sound of weapons being readied. The whispered prayers to the Emperor. Cain, Cashin said, his voice steady despite everything. Step away from it. Now. I can't, I said honestly. It's pulling me in. Like gravity. Like I was always going to end up here. Then fight it. You're human, damn you. You have a choice. Did I? I'd spent my entire life being told I was a monster that needed to be controlled. A weapon pointed at the Imperium's enemies. Every memory I'd ever made had been scraped away, every shred of identity stolen in the name of service. What did I really have to fight for? Nothing, my other self said soothingly. Let go, Matthias. Remember who you truly are. Remember the song you sang as a child. The stars dying. The final silence. It's beautiful. It's B******. The tendril of darkness wrapped around my wrist. It was cold. So cold. But not painful. It felt like coming home. I took a step toward the sphere. Cain. Cashin screamed. And then another voice cut through the darkness. Small. Distant. But achingly familiar. You're wrong, baby. You've always had something to fight for. I froze. That voice. My mother's voice. But not from the recording. From the sphere itself. When they came for you, Ilara's voice continued, when the black ships descended and I knew I'd never see you again, I made a choice. I couldn't stop them from taking you. But I could give you one last gift. The darkness rippled. And suddenly I could see her. Not her body, that was long gone, consumed by the nemophage when it had touched her. But her memory. The truth of who she'd been. A young woman with eyes like mine, holding a child and weeping. I let the nemophage take me, she said. I offered myself willingly, added my memories to the maze. And in my memories I held the truth it could never digest. That you were loved. That you mattered. That you were more than just a weapon or a lock or a key. I've been here all along, baby. Waiting for you. Holding the door shut from the inside. And I can keep holding it. But only if you help me. Only if you remember *****. Tears streamed down my face. I'd spent 37 years not knowing her face. And now, here at the end of everything, I could finally see her. She was beautiful. The seal isn't about imprisonment, my mother said. It's about choice. The nemophage feeds on everything being forgotten, on nothing mattering, on history being erased. But if we choose to remember, if we hold on to the truth that people matter, that their stories are worth preserving, then it starves. It can't digest that. It chokes on it. You're not just human, Matthias. And you're not just the nemophage child. You're both. You're the space where memory and forgetting meet. And that makes you powerful beyond measure. So choose. Right now. Will you let everything be forgotten? Or will you remember? I looked at the sphere of darkness. At the nemophage, my father, the entity that had spent 10,000 years sealed away, hungry and patient. Then I looked at my mother, at the ghost of her smile, at the love in her eyes. And I understood what I had to do. I remember, I said softly, and I stepped into the darkness. It's impossible to describe what happened next. Language wasn't built for it. But I'll try. Imagine every memory you've ever had playing simultaneously. Every face, every word, every moment of joy and sorrow and boring Tuesday afternoon. Now multiply that by 30,000. the ancient ones who'd sacrificed themselves. By billions, all the worlds the Nemephage had consumed over eons. I was drowning in memory, in history, in the terrible, beautiful weight of existence. The Nemephage was there, vast and hungry, trying to pull me apart, to consume the memories I carried and finally break free of its prison. But my mother was there too, and all the ancient ones, and everyone they'd ever loved, and everyone those people had loved, stretching back through generations. You can't hold, the Nemephage roared. Everything ends. Everything is forgotten. That's the law of entropy, the truth of the universe. No, I said, and my voice was my own and my mother's and all the ancient ones speaking as one. The universe is also stories, memories, the way a mother holds her child, the way friends laugh together, the way even in the darkest times, people find reasons to hope. Lies, it hissed. Temporary comforts before the silence. Maybe, I agreed, but they're beautiful lies, and they're worth remembering. I could feel my body in the real world, kneeling before the sphere, my hands pressed against its surface. I could feel Cassian and his soldiers watching in horror as my flesh began to glow, to become translucent, to fade. I was dying, being absorbed into the seal. But I wasn't being erased. I was becoming the seal itself, the bridge between memory and forgetting, the space where the Nemephage could exist without consuming everything. No, the entity said, and for the first time, I heard something other than hunger in its voice. Please, I'm so tired. 10,000 years is too long. Just let me end. Let me forget. And I understood then. The Nemephage wasn't just a monster. It was in pain. The weight of all those memories, all those consumed civilizations, it was crushing it. It wanted to die. It needed to die. But it couldn't. Because something had to remember the forgotten. Something had to hold the memories of the erased. Otherwise, what was the point? I'll remember for you, I told it. Every world you consumed. Every person you erased. I'll hold them all. And I'll make sure they meant something. What? It asked, genuinely confused. Why would you do that? Because someone has to. Because my mother taught me that stories matter, even if she couldn't remember teaching me. Because I'm human enough to care and other enough to hold it all. And because I'm tired of being afraid. I pushed. Not with psychic force, but with meaning. With the weight of every story I'd ever been part of, every person I'd ever known, every moment that had made me who I was. The Nemephage screamed. But it wasn't rage. It was relief. And the seal changed. I don't know how long I was in there. Time moves strangely when you're part of a psychic construct. But eventually I opened my eyes. I was still kneeling in level 99. But the sphere of darkness was different now. Still there, still vast, but contained, stable. Instead of trying to break free, it was simply existing, a vast repository of memories held in perfect stasis. Cassian was beside me, his hand on my shoulder. Kane, can you hear me? Yes, I said. My voice sounded strange, layered, like multiple people speaking at once. What happened? What did you do? I looked at my hands. They were still glowing faintly, covered in script that matched the walls. I could feel the seal inside me woven through my DNA, my psyche, my soul. I became the lock, I said. And the key. And the door itself. I don't understand, Cassian said. The Nemephage isn't sealed away anymore, I explained. It's sealed inside me. I'm its prison now. All those memories, all those forgotten worlds, I'm holding them, keeping them safe. Cassian struggled for words. That's not possible. The weight of that many memories should crush your mind. It would, I agreed, if I was fully human. But I'm not. I'm something new. Something the ancient ones couldn't have predicted. I stood and the world tilted strangely. I could see through multiple timelines, multiple possibilities. Every choice everyone in the room might make, every outcome branching like fractals. I can't go back, I said quietly, to the eternal vigilance, to serving in the Imperium's fleets. I'm not. I'm not Matthias Kane anymore. Not completely. Then who are you? Cassian asked. I thought about it. About my mother's sacrifice. About the ancient ones who'd woven themselves into the prison. About every forgotten soul I now carried. I'm the keeper, I said. The one who remembers what others forget. The guardian of lost histories. And the Nemophage? Still here. Still hungry. But I'm stronger. As long as I hold on to what matters, love, hope, the belief that stories are worth preserving, it can't break free. Cassian was quiet for a long moment. Then, the Inquisition will never allow you to simply exist. You're too dangerous. I know. I should kill you right now. It's my duty. I know that too. He drew his bolt pistol, aimed it at my head. His hand was steady. But I'm not going to, he said, lowering the weapon. Because I've seen the alternative. I've seen what happens when the Nemophage feeds unchecked. And Emperor help me, I think you might be the only thing standing between humanity and oblivion. He turned to his soldiers. No one speaks of what happened here. As far as the Inquisition is concerned, Psyker Kane died closing the seal. We recovered no body. Understood. The soldiers nodded, too shaken to argue. Cassian looked at me one last time. Where will you go? Everywhere, I said. Anywhere there are memories that need protecting. Anywhere the past is being erased. I'll be there remembering. That's a lonely existence. I smiled. For the first time in my life, it felt genuine. Not really. I have 30,000 friends keeping me company. And my mother. I can feel her even now. She's proud of me. Then go, Cassian said. Before I change my mind. I turned toward the darkness at the edge of level 99, toward the tunnels that led deeper into the earth, into places that existed outside normal space. Lord Inquisitor, I said, pausing, when you file your report, tell them Psyker Matthias Kane gave his life to save the Imperium. Tell them he died a hero. You're not dead, Cassian pointed out. No, I agreed. But Matthias Kane is. The boy who was stolen by the black ships, who had his memories scraped away, who spent his life being afraid of what he was, he doesn't exist anymore. Then who does? I looked back and I knew my eyes were glowing with that soft, layered light. The light of memories held safe. Someone who finally knows who his mother was, I said. And that's enough. I walked into the darkness and the warp welcomed me home. Official Inquisitorial Report, Lord Inquisitor Cassian, 5.847.M41 plus 73 hours. Galara Prime containment successful. Warp entity known as Nemophage, successfully sealed through sacrifice of sanctioned Psyker Matthias Kane, Iota classification. No remains recovered. Recommendation. Mining shaft Omega 7 to be filled with rockcrete and blessed by the Ecclesiarchy. Planet declared Perdita. No further settlement authorized. The Emperor protects. Personal log, Lord Inquisitor Cassian encrypted. I'm not sure what I've unleashed on the galaxy, or saved it from, but 3 nights ago I had a dream. I saw Matthias, or whatever he's become, standing in the ruins of a forgotten world. He was holding something, a child's toy, and he was weeping. When I woke, I found a data slate on my nightstand that wasn't there when I went to sleep. On it was a single message. I remember this world. I remember its name. I remember the children who played here, the parents who loved them, the hopes they had for the future. They're not lost. Not anymore. Someone remembers. Signed, the Keeper. I don't know if he's a saint or a monster. Perhaps he's both. But I believe him when he says he'll remember. And in this dark millennium, perhaps that's the most human thing any of us can do. The Emperor protects.